Yeah, hey, what's up? I'm just going to give a rundown right now. It's 17 minutes until 4 o'clock in Dallas, which means 4:30's already come on the East Coast. I think the stock market's closed down for the day. And the last half hour of the day on the East Coast, at least when I'm around here, is like this clearing period. A lot of stuff's closed, and people are like crunching out, and closing up for the day by 5 o'clock. But we still got this hour here in the Central Standard Time. This happens every day. I used to find, actually, I'm going to be honest with you, there was a time frame when like 3:30 to 4 o'clock p.m. was the best time to work out. It really was. As a matter of fact, I'm letting you know right now, I got a convention coming up. I'm going to do a convention, and part of my convention is going to be in the gym. You're going to go in the gym with me. So it's probably going to be around that time, just so you get the experience. When they close up the markets out on the East Coast, right? A lot of stuff gets cleared, and when it gets cleared, sometimes, I'm kind of privy, as they say. Now, I try to be honest about this. I've even contacted people, let them know, hey, I got some information. I'm not licensed to be a broker. I don't trade. But if I'm getting it, buddy, what are you getting, right? Because that's kind of the way it goes. And so with that with that in mind, let me just go ahead and try to give a quick rundown of some things that came up today. Last night, some information was available online. Information has not been available for years. As a matter of fact, 2015, I did an investigation I tried to do a recap of an investigation of somebody I met who was running for mayor of a suburban town outside of Chicago. He was running as a Republican. I met him in person. I liked what he had to say. But then he got disappeared, like disappeared, right? And it's one of those weird things because when you've had a little experience in other countries where the concept of political disappearance is discussed, and there are movements to try to get redress for people who've been politically disappeared, then this is something you're conscious of. And all of a sudden, this guy got disappeared. I couldn't find anything on him. I've been trying for a couple of years to get what kind of information is publicly accessible about him. And for a while, even the town where he was the town president for a while had no information about his administration except for one press release. Now, back in the day, there was other stuff on the town's website. I used to look at it about him and his predecessor. There was a controversy. It was a scandal. But, it's the Chicagoland area. Hello. He was just disappeared. Last night, a variety of pieces of information were available about him, but they were also available about another case that's been hushed up for a long time. And this is the case of concern right now. I found some information that I had not found previously, or at least for several years, concerning articles about allegations related to Barack Obama's purchase of his home. And in connection with that were some discussions about a deal he had with a man named Antoine Rezko. Now, if you're from Chicago, especially if you were from Chicago back then, and or you've been to Chicago recently, that Rezko deal was a big, big thing. As a matter of fact, Resco ended up getting busted for federal charges and going in jail for a substantial amount of time. But what had happened in 2008 is right after the Democratic convention, the information about the Resco case, insofar as it concerned not only Obama but also somebody else that was running for Congress, Luis Gutierrez, got hushed up. There was no more discussion about whatever was going on in the Resco investigation involving the two of them until last night. I had not been able to find any hard information equivalent to what was at least available then, even if it wasn't contemporary at that time in 2008 before the election. So something's happened, and some of this information's coming up, and I think that it needs to be moved on right now. This isn't the kind of thing where you need to listen to somebody say, "Well, if they're running for office, then we can't say anything about it because we can't do any campaigning if we're a nonprofit organization," regardless of whether you're a nonprofit or not. This is not the time to allow an election campaign to interfere with what is necessary if there's actually a momentum or possibility for moving on, following up on outstanding criminal charges that have not been prosecuted. As a matter of fact, failure to do so in the last 3 years, while we've had this farce of the Russian hacking scam, has allowed for the material conditions we're experiencing right now in consideration of what's happening with this COVID-19 pandemic. And attendant with that is the fact that people like me who would want to run for third party political office, which, by the way, I had announced, if If you look at my website, you'll see that I first put up that I wanted to run for office in 2019. Last year, I put my site up by February, March of 2019. But in terms of having the period to be able to acquire the signatures, which is now would be the season, now would be the reporting period, with COVID 19 and with the lockdowns and with the quarantines and with the fact that even if they've relinquished some of the quarantines, public facilities or public places where one would go to legally acquire signatures on a petition are not available, and you can't get a petition online and have a verification of a signature on a petition. I've learned this through the last 3.5 years of trying to go through the electronic filing process. So we've got a very significant situation here, and I'm really hoping that other people get the message and they move on it. I'll say that in all these years that I've been subjected to these ex parte processes that use infrasonic technology, that you need certification in order to acquire. What I've seen is instead of there being any sort of actual due process or any effective, even attempt at what could be considered a grand jury proceeding in order to acquire information connected to serious allegations, including ones that might be eligible for investigation under a standing committee like the House Un-American Activities Committee, which, by the way, is not just about identifying alleged communists. The House Un-American Activities Committee has a history of investigating and even prosecuting a number of things that could compromise national security or international security development or cooperation, including organized crime. And so, if there was any attempt even to make a justification for some sort of a grand jury proceeding, there are specific processes by which one engages a grand jury proceeding. And the first thing you do is you ask people to cooperate. Because you never know what would happen if you told people what was going on and you asked for their cooperation. You wouldn't need to torture people. You wouldn't need to steal their identities. You wouldn't need to try to frame them. And you wouldn't need to waste the entirety of the national security paradigm, including active civic participation, covering up the crimes you committed. And that's unfortunately what we're dealing with right now. I'm going to make one more short addendum to this with some specific information. I hope you have a good evening.